Hello, everybody. Thank you all for coming. It's a pleasure to see you all. If you would all rise and we could do the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We'd now like to have a moment of silence for the people in Ukraine and for our first responders. So if you would be so kind. Thank you. We'd like to thank New York Presbyterian, Hudson Valley Hospital, our wonderful lunch sponsors. Give them a hand. They're wonderful. Okay. I'd like to introduce, if you would introduce yourselves, please, members.
My name is Daryl Lindholm. I'm secretary.
Jenny Menton.
Rosemary Panio.
Maria Fama.
Joe Falcone.
Ed.
Ed Lackerman.
He snoozes occasionally.
Reading the agenda.
Okay. Okay. Today we're very fortunate. We're going to invite our friend Ellen Bloom. There she is. Okay, we're going to invite Ellen to introduce our guest speakers and to discuss plans for the opening of the heart catheter unit at NYP HVH. And thank you for all that you do for us, which is a great deal. Thank you for lunch and for your interest in our committee always. Thank you, Ellen. You want to go to the microphone?
Thank you all for everything that you do for Yorktown. We are so appreciative of Rosemary and the board for everything they've been doing, especially for the past 2 years that have been such an amazing challenge for all of us. But, you know, here we are, and I see mostly unmasked faces, I guess, except for us. But, you know, just be mindful, COVID is still around, and we still have to be extremely, extremely careful. But as always, on behalf of New York Presbyterian Hudson Valley Hospital, it is our privilege to be involved with the Yorktown Senior Advisory Committee, with all of the members. We are so pleased to see you meeting on a monthly basis. There's such great information that is shared at this meeting. I appreciate being part of these meetings. On behalf of the hospital, your community hospital, we have so many exciting things going on, and it's my pleasure to bring the latest and the greatest technology that is now in your community. New York Presbyterian just had the ribbon cutting for our cardiac cath unit, and I'm not going to say anything more because I have the experts, the talent, the top physicians in this area that we've brought to your community, and it is my honor to introduce Dr. Giora Weiss and Dr. Bill Prabhu. Both doctors are, Dr. Weiss is our medical director, and he of the cardiac cath unit. His specialty is interventional cardiology. He's an associate professor in clinical medicine at Columbia University Irving Medical Center, director of operations and the director of clinical cardiovascular research for Columbia Interventional Cardiovascular Care at New York Presbyterian Hospital, Columbia University Irving Medical Center. Wow. So you know you have talent here.
Yeah.
Yes, definitely.
Dr. Bill Prabhu is the Associate Medical Director of the Cardiac Cath Lab, also a specialist in interventional cardiology. He performs cardiac catheterizations, peripheral vascular and structural heart procedures at Columbia University Irving Medical Center. He is also an assistant professor of medicine at Columbia University Irving Medical Center. What can I say? There is nothing more to say, but let me bring these two wonderful doctors up to the podium to really tell you the details. And thank you.
Thank you, Ellen. Thank you.
Thanks, Ellen, and thanks everybody for having us. And I'll be happy to know all of you, but outside of the hospital, of course. I'll start with the bottom line. I wish you will never need our services, but if you do, we are here and available. And as Ellen exaggerated a little about me, I've been with the Columbia Group for over 20 years now, working in the cath lab, interventional cardiology. And what we do is opening blockages. The main thing that we do related to the heart is to open blockages in the blood vessels of the heart. You know, we are all born with 3 blood vessels. We call them the coronary arteries that supply the blood, the oxygen, and the nutrition to the heart muscle. And that's what makes the pump work and supply the rest of the blood to the rest of the body. And so it's quite important. Unfortunately, it's a very common disease to have blockages in the coronary arteries. You heard about angina pectoris, and you heard about heart attacks, and you heard about, I don't want to say that loud, people die. And this is the most common cause of morbidity and mortality in the United States, in the Western world, is about cardiovascular disease. It's about atherosclerosis. This is like all the debris, the cholesterol, all the junk that gets into the walls of the coronary arteries and other arteries in the body, cause blockages and cause us to suffer. So what we do in the cath lab, we identify those blockages, we diagnose them, and we offer a solution to open them. And I can tell you that is now in our generation, in the last 20 years, these technologies have been involved, and really what I be able to do now is uncompared to what we were able to do 20 years ago or 10 years ago. These things are moving forward all the time, and we are able now to open blockages that we never could open before. In the past, we sent the majority of patients with blockages to have a bypass, open heart surgery. We still do sometimes, but I can tell you 95% of the people with blockages, we have the knowledge, the skills, and the technology to open those blockages in the cath lab, in a small procedures that get through a small tube. We get this tube all the way to the heart, either through the wrist, and these are tubes that are 2 millimeters, so it's less than a tenth of an inch. We get them through this little artery here, called the radial artery at the wrist, or we do it sometimes, and this is a technical decision sometimes, we're going through the groin, and we're able to deliver all of our equipment through this tiny tube and to open the blockages. So we have the special equipment for that. And when I was approached over a year ago by my bosses in Columbia, and they offered me, why don't you go to open a new cath lab in Peekskill in Hudson Valley Hospital? I was very excited because I talked to many people here in the neighborhood, and I understood what's the big need is and how people are so really in a need to have local services, not need to go to the city, not to go to some places that don't have all the skills, but actually to have it in the backyard here, in front of our houses, close to our city, and be able to get all the treatment that is needed without the traffic to the city, without the parking, and you know how difficult it is. We still sometimes need to do it, of course, but it's much more convenient when everything is local.
Absolutely.
And we're able to give. So we are opening now this cath lab. Monday is the first day. We just, as Ellen said, we just did the ribbon cutting a few days ago. And we are very excited about that. We'll be able to give all those services to you close to home. Not to you. I hope you don't never need it. But if one of your neighbors, need us, you know whom to recommend and when to send. I can tell you, I'm working now, planning that for the last year, and it's been a very positive experience with the Hudson Valley Hospital. They were not cheap. They were actually buying all the best equipment, the state of the art. They're not looking twice. Any equipment that I told them that we need to give the services in the cath lab, they got it not for us, for the people that need it. But we would like to give the best service. So sometimes as you understand, our profession is very technical and technological. So we need a lot of equipment. and we have that all. So there's well, very seldom you may hear from us that there's something special that like we don't carry and we don't have because it's a small place. We have the equipment of a big place in a small place, and the connection to our continuous connection with Columbia Medical Center that I've been there for so many years. Dr. Prabhu, that I'll present in a moment, is working with us there as well. So we have continuous connection. So we're just extending the services that we give there, here close to your home. I'm talking a lot about the blood vessels of the heart, but it's not just about the blood vessels of the heart. We are able to do in the catheterization laboratory also opening blockages in the legs. We can fix some of the valves, and Dr. Prabhu is one of the experts in those two fields, beyond being really a superb cardiologist that I'm so thrilled that he accepted the offer to join us and to work together, and I will give him the podium to continue to tell you about what we are doing. So thank you for your attention, and we'll be available for any questions after that.
Hi, my name is Dr. William Prabhu. Thank you for giving me a chance to speak, and thank you, Ellen and Dr. Weiss, for that excellent introduction. I think this is a really wonderful thing that we were able to bring to the community. Before I worked at Columbia, I was at Westchester Medical Center, and even that's far from here, and they don't have all the technologies that we're about to open and offer here. So you really had to go to New York City to get these things done. And you know, it's interesting, my wife also works at Columbia. Neither of us likes going all the way to New York, so this is a much better situation. The same reason that we're opening the lab here is the same reason I'm coming to work here. It's just an easier part of life, and bringing life-saving therapy to the community that we live in is what, we're here to do. So Dr. Weiss was talking a little bit about coronary artery disease, which we both work together to open blockages in the heart. We'll also be using the newest technology to open blockages in the legs, and eventually for people with pulmonary embolism, which has become a really big problem, especially in COVID, we'll be dissolving those clots in the lung, artery to the lungs as well. So these are therapies that just don't exist currently in our community without having to go to New York City, and now we will have a 24/7 care system where we can take care of those life-threatening problems, and most of the time make them not life-threatening anymore. So maybe I'll open it up to questions and see if I can be helpful at all. We use a lot of technical language in the things that we do, but most of what we do is pretty simple. If something's blocked, we open it. And if something is open that should be closed, we close it. That's pretty much 90% of what we do on a daily basis. So if I can answer any questions, please let me know. Yes?
I have a question. If the blockage is opened by a stent, I'm guessing?
It can be a balloon or a stent, depending on where it is and what the reason is.
How many stents can you have when you need to go to
Yeah.
some major...
So we try to use as few stents as possible, but it depends on the blockages. I mean, just last week I had a patient who had 3 blockages in 3 separate places. One stent is not going to get to all 3 separate spots, so they needed 3 short stents. Sometimes we can use 1 long stent. It all depends on the anatomy. We like to get as much blood flow as possible to the target that we're trying to get it to, because those are associated with the best outcomes. The strongest heart muscle in the long term, with the most open arteries. So it all depends on how many. But as a general rule, as part of what we do on a daily basis, is to use to implant as little as possible. That's going to have the most benefit. There's not a hard and fast rule, but there can be multiple stents in patients in one procedure. So, go ahead.
I'm wondering, what would be the procedure if someone suspects that there's a problem that they'd like addressed? Do they go through their primary care doctor and then a referral to you? Or
Yeah.
do they go right to your facility?
Well, it all depends on how they present. So, as cardiologists as a group, we do an okay job, but not always the best job of trying to help people understand what a heart attack looks like, and what some of these other conditions look like. Heart attack being the most life-threatening. If you have new onset chest pressure, arm pain, jaw pain that you have never had before, you should go to the emergency department and get it checked out, period. You should not wait. It's Friday afternoon. Oh, my doctor can see me on Monday. We hate that because we can still help those people on Monday, but me and Dr. Weiss will be here 24/7 to help you on Friday night and Saturday morning and Saturday night and whatever time it is. Because as we say, time is tissue. Meaning that, the sooner we get the artery open, the more tissue we can save and the more normally it can function over the long haul. Not only are we trying to save your life today, we're really trying to extend your life for many, many years to come. So all of that time frame equals how successful we can be. So if you have new onset chest pain, sweatiness, arm pain, jaw pain, go to the emergency department. You're not wasting our time. Our emergency department is lovely. It's not like, I love Columbia. We work there. It's a much different emergency. My wife works in the emergency department there. I told you that. It's a much different emergency department than the department up here. There's many less people, thank God. And it's less busy a place. So if you have those symptoms, come see us. And if you're fine, you'll go home. That's fine. But if you need one of these life-saving procedures, we want to know about it now, not tomorrow, not a week later. Yeah, the number one thing is the EKG. This is an old technology we've had for many, many years, but it is still the gold standard. It's safe, it's reliable, and it can be done extraordinarily quickly with no risk to the patient. We can really identify heart blockages, especially emergency heart blockages, by that EKG within a couple of minutes. And then a call goes out to whichever one of me or Dr. Weiss or our colleagues are on call. If we're in the hospital, it's easy. We come downstairs. But if it's, nighttime hours, we rush in from home within about 20 minutes to come and open the artery. So that's the most basic test. We have many, many other tests that we check if it's not an emergency heart attack. So the thing that we're talking the most about, the most emergent heart attack, is the ST elevation heart attack. That has to be treated right away. Some of the other heart attacks or threatened heart attacks, we have a little bit more time, and we can do some blood tests. We can do an echo test and different tests, and the angiogram, of course, if we need, which is the test where we look at the heart arteries.
I have...
Available 24/7, 365. So
Yep.
there's no time that you will not be available. Any time of the day, any time of the night,
Yeah.
that you will be available for any emergency. Again, I wish nobody needs an emergency.
But
If, God forbid, there's need, we are there.
my philosophy is, when in doubt, go to the emergency room. I had I'm AFib, so I had a situation about a year ago, and we just got in the car and we drove to the hospital, and they took care of me and came home 2 days later, and I was fine. Recently, my husband, who took a fall during the ice storm, hit his head, and nobody thought anything of it. A couple of weeks later, he started having blurred speech and change of pace in his walking, and I said, let's go. We got in the car at night. It was quite late, and I don't even remember driving to the emergency room, and he was taken care of there, and we were very fortunate. We had a wonderful neurosurgeon, Dr. Rosner, who took care of him immediately, and here he is now. But if we were not 10 minutes away from the hospital and still gotten world-class medical care, we could have had a permanent problem. So we're very thankful for that. So you're right. The fact that it's close to home is very important.
I mean, our goal here is to save.
To do it and save his life by taking him quickly to the emergency room.
Oh.
And I want to say there's no, I don't believe in terms like false alarm or stupid questions, or
Yeah.
bad questions. All alarms are alarms for a reason. And it's always good to say, okay, actually it's not that bad.
No.
Okay, but don't take risks and don't assume. If there is a question, if there is a doubt, seek for medical advice, medical treatment. If it's an emergency in the middle of the night, doesn't matter. And it's always good to make sure you sleep better after that.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah, I have a question. Are you saying that now you're taking care of blood clots that have also appeared in the lungs
That's correct.
by veins or?
Yes, by the veins. We go up usually through the veins in the leg or in the arms. This is another life-threatening problem that has exploded in the last, let's call it 5 to 10 years. Just like the technology that Dr. Weiss and our partners have really pioneered at Columbia University, now we've taken the mantle and taken it to the pulmonary embolism, which is the third most common cause of cardiovascular death in the country. Okay, so the heart arteries are number 1. This is number 3. So another big problem that's killing hundreds of thousands of Americans, including you. Everyone in this room knows someone who's had a pulmonary embolism. And
Personally.
it's a life-threatening problem that we really didn't get a lot of attention until maybe the last 5 or 6 years. Why? I don't know the answer to that.
Wonderful.
But we've been working really hard to lower that mortality and to treat patients with better outcomes. And we're kind of in the middle of that revolution as we speak. And quite frankly, Columbia University is leading the way. And now Dr. Weiss and I both do pulmonary embolisms in Manhattan when they come. Now, eventually, that's not on day one, but we will have that care, access to that care at some point in time in the cath lab after we kind of let's get all the coronary arteries done, and then that'll be the next step for us. And that is currently not offered in Westchester County, period.
Wonderful.
Another question. What's the purpose of a calcium score?
That's a screening test, a calcium score. So it's usually a one-time test for folks to put them in a low, medium, or high-risk category. And that's a test for someone who's having no symptoms. If you're having symptoms, it's the emergency room. If you're having no symptoms, then what we're really trying to do as cardiologists in the outpatient setting, so these are our partners who you would make an appointment and you would see them on during the business hours. They see you're not having symptoms. How can they prevent you from having that heart attack 5 years in the future so that we're doing it in the middle of the night? We would much rather take care of it or eliminate it 5 years in advance. I think about it's much easier. My kid the other day grabbed the permanent marker and started drawing on the wall. But it would be much easier to get the permanent marker from her before we had to scrub it off the walls. It's much an easier process. So that's kind of what a calcium score and many of the tests that our colleagues do to try to prevent the heart attacks in the future. So
if you had one, say, 5 years ago, would they do another one? Or is it kind of rated like, yes, you'll have something, no, you won't? Or...
There are a lot of different algorithms, but most of the time a coronary calcium score is a one-time thing, and then we can use other tests depending on the risk profile to say where you are in the in the spectrum of disease. From I'm looking around, and I'm including myself in this. None of us have 20-year-old arteries anymore. They look beautiful when they're 20. They don't look the same as we get older. None of ours do. And probably on my 39th birthday, I had to just take care of a 39-year-old with a life-threatening heart attack.
Wow.
So this is happening in patients from 35 years old up all the way up the spectrum. So we want to try to catch it as soon as we can.
Wonderful.
I'm not sure this question is appropriate, but I'm going to try anyway. When the emergency medical people come and get you, and they're taking a live person to the hospital, are there tests that they're doing to alert you?
Yes, they get the EKG. It goes right to our phones any time of day or night. If they're suspicious, we get a call before you're even in the hospital.
Before you're even in, so that gives you a clue as to what.
Yes, and we'll sometimes come in and either meet you there or be halfway there by the time you get to the emergency department.
My experience, we have one of the best units here, Yorktown ambulance. If you have any doubt whether somebody should drive you to the hospital
Yes.
or the ambulance should take you, do not have somebody drive you. Have the ambulance take you. They take care of you. I've been there twice, Ray, so I know it.
I learned that a month and a half ago when I put my husband in the car and drove him there, and I saw an ambulance pull up, but they went right in. We had to wait because there were 2 or 3 other people online. So don't get in the car and drive. Call the ambulance corps and
It's
have.
not best when you're driving. You're not an ambulance driver.
No? You never saw me drive. But I've learned that the hard way. Thank God it worked out okay. But I will not do that again. I will call for help. Yes.
We get a lot of advertisements in the mail for body scans. Can I have your opinion on that?
This is a long topic that I don't know if I want to wade into the waters here. How do I say this properly?
We
I
won't
would
tell
be
anybody.
very cautious. So I also get calls all the time to sell my home for cash and for more insurance on my car. What else do I get calls? You know, like the robocalls. Anybody who's sending you an advertisement for something, you know, there are people who are professionals who we are here to try to help folks. And then there are people who are sending flyers in the mail, and I don't know. I would be cautious. I would be the best thing I could say about that.
I guess, just to clarify it a bit, just in general, a body scan, do you recommend that for your patients?
We recommend things to patients when they have symptoms or they have some special risk profile. And I would suggest not to buy medical services by per advertisement or in Amazon, but actually let the doctor. If they think that you need something or somebody needs something,
They'll order it.
They will do it. They will
Right.
But just like by advertisement,
I see.
I would be careful. I don't know exactly who sent what, but you know, this is not medicine. Should not be a commercial thing. Medicine is kind of it's not kind. Medicine is about helping people that need help.
Anybody else have any question, Maria?
I don't have a question. Sorry?
That's all right. Go ahead.
I don't have a question. I simply want to say thank you, thank you, thank you. You have given me a personal gift by sharing this with us today. Because my husband was rushed down, I can't even go there, to Colombia many years ago. And my friends know he should not be here. And I vowed that if you needed a doctor, you had to go there. And yet when I went there, I was a total wreck, so much confusion. You cannot find people, in all due respect, that I'm happy you're here. Amazing. So now you're telling me you're here. And thank you, thank you, thank you. God bless.
Thank you.
You had a question? Go ahead.
Sounds like a wonderful service. I have utmost trust in you. I hope I never need it, but if I do, I'm very confident. If something should go wrong during the procedure, is the hospital equipped, and if open heart surgery is required after the procedure, is the hospital equipped to do it, or would the person have to be transferred?
We don't have open heart surgery at the center. That's so rare these days. I remember I've opened a couple of cath labs over the years. We used to, has to be an ambulance ready to go. And it's just so rare because the technology has advanced. I'm not saying it never happens. What you are talking about, sometimes it can be best be treated with open heart surgery. And that can, you go down to, the best place in the world to get open heart surgery is Colombia. People fly from all over the world to get that done. That is a great place to get that done. That service, does not exist at Hudson Valley Hospital. That said, needing emergent surgery that we can't handle, I don't know that I've had that in the 5,000 plus procedures that I've performed. Dr. Weiss has performed more than that. He can tell you it's an extraordinarily rare thing in 2022. And we, of course, have contingencies that include having actually the Columbia surgeons come up to Hudson Valley Hospital in the emergency case that were needed. I hope that all of that planning that Dr. Weiss did is totally unnecessary, but if we need it one day, we have it planned.
Anyone else? Somebody back there?
How long is the lab open now? When did this lab open?
Monday, this Monday. Next in 3 days, 2 days, yeah.
Please don't need anything.
I was thinking, what would we do if they called us?
Not today, not today.
Well, that was good.
Well, I think that, once again, I can't stress enough how fortunate we are to have this wonderful hospital so close to home. My family is grateful for everything that you do, and it's just great. And Ellen is one of our favorite people, so she's part of our family here. Thank you so much. We really appreciate it. Not at all. Come. We have Matt is going to be out here shortly. Our supervisor to talk to us. Yes.
Right, can you squeeze behind here? No.
Oh, you want a mask?
My newsletter with a mask on.
Okay, hold
If
on.
you do, put it on and get in the picture.
Rules.
I feel like a
Sorry, I feel awkwardly here, but I can't.
You want us
We're
to?
NYP. Yeah, I would love for you to get in the picture with the doctor, but I can only do it with a mask. I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm going. I have a mask. And I
Come on, mask people. I'm sorry. It's an NYP, you know.
You want us to stand or sit?
You can do either, whatever.
Oh, we'll sit,
You can
okay?
sit, you
Stay
can
where
sit.
you are.
You can sit.
Thank you. This is awesome. Okay, smile with your eyeballs. Thank you.
Thank you, Ellen. Thank you,
You
Ellen.
have good. You have good tools. Like the.
Of course, it's wonderful. Boy,
Oh, yeah,
it's
this in
great.
case anybody gets out of line.
We don't mess with her.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. We appreciate all that you do.
Almost for my uncle who lives in Memphis.
Ellen, do you want to introduce our new, yeah, okay.
People come from all over.
Yes.
We have to go back down, but it's like, he's wonderful. He's amazing. Yeah. He's our partner, you know, they're great.
Well, we're really improving, that's for sure.
It's a wonderful thing.
I can remember when Pittsburgh Hospital was Pittsburgh Hospital.
We were very lucky.
He's the chief now, by the way. He got promoted.
Why doesn't that surprise you?
Our town clerk is also here, Diana Quast, is here to say hello to
I'll
us.
tell him next week or two. I'm sure I'll talk to him soon.
Anthony was his patient.
Very good.
You want to bring him up? I think he's waiting for you to bring him up.
Who's waiting for me? Would you like to introduce her to us, Ellen?
You need to go to the microphone. Alan. Sorry. Tom will blow a top up in there.
Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you,
Thank you
doctors.
so much.
Thank you.
I
doctors.
know you all remember my colleague Catherine Maroney, so she was a very visible presence at your meetings. Catherine did resign from the hospital back in August, and I'm pleased to be joined by my new colleague, Wendy McNamara. And Wendy has been with us for a month and a half, and so she'll be coming to the meetings, you know, once we, at your next meeting, I'm sure. So thank you for welcoming her, as I know you will.
Thank you, Ellen. Thank you.
I look forward to seeing you and being part of the meeting.
Thank you, thank
For
you.
all of you guys for participating and for all you guys do for Yorktown.
Thank you.
Thank you, Wendy.
Thank you. Okay, that's wonderful. We now have our town supervisor, Mr. Slater. He's going to give us an update.
Well, good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
Happy Easter, happy Passover,
Happy
Kwanzaa for those who are celebrating.
Yeah.
I hope everyone's enjoying
Ramadan.
I'm sorry, Ramadan. Oof. Ramadan.
It was a little chilly this morning.
It
but
was,
I don't
not
think
that
winter
cold.
weather.
I hope everyone's enjoying a very blessed holiday season. My kids are still on their sugar high from the Easter Bunny, but it was a great Easter Sunday at my house, and I hope yours as well. Here in Yorktown, another month goes by. I feel like I was just here.
Yeah.
Or over at the Capolini Center where our last meeting was, right?
Tuesday.
And, we continue to move a lot of important initiatives forward, monitor some really important issues as well. I want to start on the state side, if I could. The last time we spoke, we talked about the state budget. State budget was approved, $220 billion state budget. It's monstrous. But it was approved by our state legislators and signed by the governor, and so state government continues to function. One of the things that we talked about the last time I was here was Castle Point, the Castle Point VA. Ed, I don't know if did you mention this?
I haven't had a chance to talk yet, so
okay.
go.
Well, I'm glad they let me go first then.
There you go.
But Councilman Lachterman is our liaison to the Veterans Advisory Committee. We talked last month about the Castle Point VA and the federal government's proposal to close the Castle Point VA. They were going to turn it into a outpatient facility, which would eliminate upwards of 15 services that our veterans currently rely on out of that Castle Point facility. Councilman Lachterman and I joined a number of county and state officials up at Castle Point calling for the plan to be set aside because we think any type of reduction in services for our veterans is completely unacceptable. The town board's passed a resolution to this effect, and I'm happy to report that a lot of momentum in that direction has transpired, and to the point where Senator Chuck Schumer came out just a few weeks ago in opposition to the federal government's plan. So we believe that we're on the right track. We're still keeping a very close eye on it. We're still working with a lot of our veteran organizations and of course our partners on the state and the federal level. But I do believe we're on the right track to keep Castle Point open at this point in time. Here in the town, we've had a couple of things going on here. Just last night, for those who didn't make it, I know that Mr. Grasso was here and a few others, but Councilman Lachterman always hosts, and it's our first time in 2 years because of COVID, but hosts a really moving Holocaust remembrance ceremony. And last night, we had Esther Geisels, who was a survivor of Auschwitz and the Death March, join us, just with a very emotional and harrowing story of what she went through. That was recorded, and I want to thank our town clerk, Diana Quas, as well for her assistance in making sure the event went as well as it did, because it was fantastic. And if you haven't had a chance, if you weren't here, Channel 20, Channel 33, I know that Tom Ciangela has this playing right now. It's also on the town's website. But it was really a moving evening. Very emotional. I brought my son, actually, and they were actually...
He stole the show.
Well, he tends to do that whenever he's around. But I brought my son, and Esther said that it was too sad for him to hear. But if you think about it, and I was thinking about this this morning with my wife, I was talking to her about it. He's 6. She was 10. So really, he's not that young. Mm. And I thought it was, and my wife and I thought it was very, very important for him to sit here and hear her story. Because, as we know, history is fading.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And you can read it in the books, and listen, I love history. I really do. It was my number one subject other than gym and lunch in high school. But in all seriousness, history is fading. And any chance we get to expose our children to those primary accounts, we have to take advantage of doing it. And so Charlie sat right in the front row, and he took it all in and asked a bunch of questions to my wife and I this morning, last night. And when Esther was done and opened up for questions, Charlie was one of the first people to raise his hand. And his question was very simple. She constantly referred to her father and her mother, and his question was, well, what was their names?
Wow.
And that was, I thought, and my wife really thought, was probably the most profound question one could have asked, because it really brought an identity to those people. And I can spend the rest of the time talking about how impactful I thought her testimony was. The one line I do want to share was towards the end, and Councilman Lachterman will remember this. She said, "I've never had a bad day in America." Mm.
Wow.
And I get chills thinking about that, and it's something. And it's something people need to remember.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Because we are so blessed and lucky to live here in this great country. And for a woman to endure what she did, and she even said, yes, we struggled, but those struggles were no comparison to the evil and just the cruelty that she faced as a child. And so that's something I think, and I hope, and I pray that every single person who listens to Esther can take away. And because I just thought it was just so impactful and so profound. So thank you, Councilman Lachterman, for organizing that. It's so important that we continue to do that. every single year. And I just hope, we had my son, Councilwoman Luciana Howitt, brought her son Liam, and the Gusikovs brought their children.
Lillian and Jack. Who've been to every one. Started when they were 6 years old, actually.
Yeah, and I just hope in the future we see more children at these events, because I just think it's so important for them to understand just all the evil that hatred breeds. And when you hear someone like Esther stand here and talk about what she went through, you can feel it, you hear it, you can give her a nice hug at the end, and you can touch it. It's not just in a history book. It's right in front of you. So a great service that Councilman Lachterman really does for the town of Yorktown. So I think he deserves a round of applause, to be honest with you.
Matt, I did want to, you had mentioned something, and look, I take a lot of pride in it, and I do really think it's very important. But I just want to say that, last night, there was so much more participation from other members of the board than there have been in the past, per se, other than the first year. And I did want to just send a special thank you to Diana, because I got very emotional at the end. And, even when I came in, it started because we had daffodils that were brought in and put on the table. And if you don't know, there's the Yellow Daffodil Project, which is planting daffodils in memory of children killed in the Holocaust. And Diana and Maura worked on that without being asked. They did a slide presentation. But the thing that, that caught me at unaware and sort of, towards the end, I started to forget some things and mess up because it was such an emotional time, is that Esther's brother, actually, when they were moved from the ghettos of Poland into the concentration camps. She was in 3 concentration camps, and the first stop was Auschwitz. And her brother and mother, and I won't tell the whole story about the mother, please watch it on TV, but or on the computer, they were separated, and her brother and mother were sent immediately to the gas chambers. Mm-hmm. So those daffodils were even more poignant. So thank you, Diana.
Thank you.
Really, a really moving experience, and I really encourage everyone here, everyone listening, everyone watching to please spend some time. And when you do watch it, if you can bring a child with you, I think it's important so they can learn as well. But again, to Councilman Lachterman and to our town clerk, Diana Quas, thank you so much. I spent some time with the St. Pat's seniors. I see a lot of them here. What do you know? It's like a 2 for 1. One of the things that I wanted to just bring up that I brought up there, we talked about what's the best way for the town to communicate with our seniors. And everyone raised their hand when I asked if they read their emails. And then I asked, well, how many people have signed up for our email list? And it was a very small number. So please note, go to the yorktownny.org website, and under the tab, How Do I? Sign up for our public notices. We send out emails weekly about all the different things going on, whether it's the town board agenda, whether it's the planning board agenda, so you know what's happening in town operationally, or even if it's about vaccine clinics or special events like the Holocaust Remembrance Ceremony. Those are all things that we do communicate on a weekly basis. I joked about this earlier in the week when I was with the St. Pat's seniors. I love going door to door, but I can't knock on all of your doors every week to tell you what's going on. So as Chief Noble says, help us help you. If you can sign up for those notices, it would really, I think, be very helpful for all of you to know what's going on in the town and to participate in the great events that we do have. YorktownNY.org, and then on the top you'll see How Do I? You click on that, and then you'll see Sign Up for Public Notices. And then you just submit your email, and you'll be all set. The other thing we talked about last time I was here was Con Ed and their rate hike proposal. We did submit a petition with over 1,000 names on it from the community opposing Con Ed's rate hike. That's before the Public Service Commission because it has to be approved by the state. The town board did approve a resolution also in opposition to the rate hike. I have also spoken to NYSEG because we do have Yorktown. If you don't know, Yorktown's one of only 2 municipalities in Westchester that has both Con Ed and NYSEG for electricity, the other being Bedford. So I met with NYSEG earlier in the week, their regional team, and we have seen another spike, especially for NYSEG customers, on electricity rates. They haven't they haven't had their rates increase. The production of electricity, as we know and as we heard prior, is still very, very high. And so the utility companies, Con Ed and NYSEG, simply are your service providers. They get the electricity to your house. They do not produce it. So the people who are producing it, the companies that are producing it, the cost of doing that remains very high. And we know that because you see it at the gas stations, right? Our gas stations here to fill up your tanks are still very high as well. So if you do get a NYSEG bill and you are seeing still very high rates, just understand that's the reason. If you do have questions about your bill, whether it's Con Ed or NYSEG, we do have liaisons that we communicate with regularly, and we are very happy to reach out to them on your behalf, and they will get their customer service representatives to contact you and explain any questions you have. And I think we've been very, very successful in that. So feel free to contact my office or the clerk's office, and we can definitely help out in that realm. I also wanted to just remind folks that our Senior Nutrition Center is open. They do a great job. Best lunch you can find. We had Noreen O'Driscoll join the St. Pat's seniors and provide some details about the center and the new things that they're doing. They basically have almost like a new facility with new flooring, new paint on the walls, new AC systems, new ventilation. So we've really upgraded the standards there. They've gotten some new equipment in the kitchen. But it's just a really great opportunity for our seniors to get out and socialize, enjoy each other's company and presence, especially after 2 years of isolation and quarantine. It really is worth the trip, and they do a very, very good job. Actually, for those who don't know, the Yorktown Senior Nutrition Center cooks food. We're a regional kitchen, so we cook food also for Cortland seniors and Somer seniors. And it's very high quality, and I again welcome all of you to check that out. Same with our library. We had Yvonne Check stop by as well, and our library continues to increase the services that they provide to the community. They're open. They're one of the top libraries when it comes to circulation in the entire county, which we're very, very proud of. And honestly, I think they deserve a little bit more attention and credit than they get, but it's a great opportunity and a great resource, not just if you're looking for a book, but they have a great online presence as well. So you can do your online magazines, your ebooks, even music, all those things. And as Yvonne pointed out, they're on the path, and we hope soon, to be a passport processing center right here in the town of Yorktown. So you don't have to go over to Putnam. You don't have to go to the DMV. You'll be able to go right to the Yorktown John C. Hart Memorial Library for any passport needs that you might have. From a recreational standpoint, if you haven't heard, we are actually in the midst of having an all-inclusive playground installed up at Granite Knolls. What does that mean? That means kids of all abilities, whether they're in a wheelchair or they're, they have no physical impairments, they will be able to go enjoy this wonderful facility. It's going to be the only second facility like this in the entire county, third in the Hudson Valley. I really want to thank Diana Quast, our town clerk, who's been instrumental in that, in getting the funding from the state through Senator Harcum, but also helping drive this project forward. I was up there yesterday. Looks awesome. So awesome. And I know a lot of the kids are excited to get up there and play. So if you have any grandkids or any children that you might know, it's going to be a really great atmosphere, a great opportunity for all of Yorktown's kids to come together and make some great, great memories.
It's a wonderful thing, Matt.
Yes,
I speak from experience because I grew up with my brother, who I just lost 2 years ago. He lived to be almost 90, a couple of weeks short of his 90th birthday. And he was disabled from birth. And there was just nothing for him.
Right.
And he was athletically inclined, but there was nothing that he could join or do. There was no special ed at the time, talking about 92 years ago.
Yep.
My mother and father paid for everything that was ever done for him. It's and I, even now I miss him every day because he was a wonderful person despite his disabilities. And so when our family read about that, we were absolutely thrilled to hear that.
Yeah, and honestly, there's even more that we do in this realm that people I don't think realize. There's the Pioneers has a basketball program for kids with special needs. We do a special needs soccer clinic for children with special needs. That happens at Willow Park. And so Yorktown's really expanded its footprint in this particular area because we recognize that every child deserves a great experience and a great childhood, and they should be afforded the opportunity to play sports, play on playgrounds, and there shouldn't be any reason that they can't have access to these facilities. And so the town has really done a great job and really, I think, emerged on the forefront in this. And I've mentioned it before, I'll mention it again. We've got our Accessibilities Committee, actually, which is chaired by Tom Panic, who's the president of Guiding Eyes for the Blind, which he is headquartered here in Yorktown. And it is really a cutting edge, I think, mission to make sure, again, that people of all abilities have access to all the great things that we have to offer. So they do a great job in that sense as well.
The wonderful things, the wonderful
And
ideas.
Matt, we should probably also mention that they just opened Guiding Eyes a comfort station for their training right here in the middle of town.
That's right.
That is completely accessible.
Yeah, if you it's one of those things that if you drive around the Heights, particularly, you're going to see more of a presence of Guiding Eyes for the Blind. They do a lot more training here now with the dogs.
Yeah.
That's all pretty new, and within the last 18 months, 2 years, I want to say, and they have embraced the town of Yorktown with their leadership. And they really want to expand their presence here. So they've opened this comfort station right across the street from the Cappellini Center. They're actually also looking at a piece of property off of 202 for a new kennel, regional kennel that they would open. So to have a global leader, in this field, really double down on the town of Yorktown, I think says a lot about our community. It says a lot about our compassion. And I think it says a lot about what we have to offer. So thank you for bringing that up, Councilman. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Just quickly on economic development, if you haven't heard, Trader Joe's is coming to the town of Yorktown. I know people are very, very excited. We expect them open sometime in June is where we're hoping. We also have Uncle Giuseppe's moving over to a much larger facility, 30,000 square feet more. We expect them open by July. So there are things happening. There are exciting things happening here. And the other thing I just wanted to mention, this is new, I'm going to talk about it on Tuesday. The town received a little more than $3 million, $3.5 million from the federal government as part of the COVID relief package. And so now it's up to us to figure out what we spend it on. So we're going to be rolling out a process by which we're going to engage the community through an online survey and a community survey to just make sure that our decision process is in sync and in line with the priorities of our residents. It's a lot of money. We could probably spend it in a second. I know Pat Caparella, our comptroller, can spend it in a nanosecond. But it's important that we're investing these dollars in the areas and the places that I think the residents want to see those dollars invested. So we're going to be rolling out a whole process at Tuesday's town board meeting, which you can, of course, join us at or watch on TV. But I just wanted to make you aware that there is an online survey that's going to be coming out probably in the next week or so, and I would really encourage and welcome your thoughts, your opinions, and your engagement on this because, again, we want to make sure that we're making the right investments for our community that's going to have the most impact. So
at yorktownNewYork.org?
It's going to be on yorktownny.org's website. Yep, and so that'll probably be up at some point next week. So, yes, sir.
Where do we stand on the sewage?
Sure, thank you. Meant to mention that. So, exciting news, really exciting news. So for years, I want to say, Diana, what, close to 30? 50. Some people 50, but I think close to 30 years now, we've been trying to get the Halleck's Mill Sewer District extended. And that's going to be for the area in and around Sparkle Lake. We had, long story short, New York City had earmarked $10 million for the town of Yorktown to accomplish this project. It's been a project that's very complicated, very technical, and it's taken a very long time for us to get off the ground. Multiple administrations, years in the making. And we finally were at a point where we have a viable project, and we were working collectively with the county to make sure that we met the standards that were needed to access those $10 million. And just, I think it was last month, the county executive publicly declared that we had met those standards and that we were moving forward to access the $10 million. So at this point, we have a full application for the sewer project, phase 1, to move forward. It's going to provide sewers to approximately 315 parcels, again, in and around the Sparkle Lake area. And at this point in time, it needs to be referred to the state comptroller's office. There's a threshold on the cost that triggers a state comptroller review. That review is to ensure, of course, that we're being responsible financially for the taxpayers in the district, and so it needs to be reviewed by the state comptroller. Once the state comptroller gives us hopefully the stamp of approval, it would then move over to our engineering department to be put out for bid, and then we go from there. So we're still looking probably in a realistic sense 2 to 3 years before we see shovels in the ground. But we've never been closer. And one of the things that I said when I first got elected was I did not want to go back, to go. We're not starting over again. I wanted to take the project that we had, that the town has been working on, that our the previous administration worked on, that our department heads worked on, and we were going to move that project forward. That's what I said I was committed to doing. That's what we are going to do. I think that in the past, some politics have been played with the project, which I thought was wrong. And I was committed to making sure that didn't happen again. So we are now at the point where we're going to be sending it to the state comptroller's office for that review. We expect that to take about 6 months, roughly 6 months. And then once that comes back, then it goes out, hopefully, to the next phase of engineering, and then out to bid, and then, into the construction phase. But it's a very positive step forward.
In the phase one, you mentioned 315 parcels.
Yes.
What's the total?
Well, there's actually, it's 3 phases that were proposed. I don't remember the number off the top of my head of how many parcels in total the 3 phases were. But the first phase is 315. All the information can be found online. We've been keeping a timeline so that we kept everyone apprised of the situation. We're going to be actually holding a public informational meeting for those 315 parcels next month, in the month of May, so we can update everybody and remind them about the project. We've also had quite a few new residents move in, and I want to make sure they know about the project because there is a cost associated to it, but it's a very positive step forward that is going to have a significant environmental impact for our community. It's going to increase property values significantly, and like I said, 30 years in the making. And so the town board voted, I want to say it was Diana, 3 weeks ago, to officially establish the district. That was the first time, I think, in 30 years that's occurred. So we've been making some historic progress despite all the challenges that we've faced here, and we're just excited to be at this point.
Could you tell us a little bit, Chief Noble's not here today, about this committee that he has started with regard to
the registry?
Yeah.
So we talked about this also with the St. Pat seniors. I got to tell you, I genuinely believe, to my core, we have the absolute best best police department in the county, probably the state, hands down, no question about it. And by the way, I just want to also offer, if we could, just a quick prayer for the Yonkers police detective who was shot. I don't want to provide too many details, but I will tell you this, that Yonkers police officer has direct ties to this town. His wife grew up as my next door neighbor. So his family is here. He's got a 10-year-old boy, and we're just thankful. We're thankful today. He's on the road to recovery. It was definitely a scary time there, but we thank him for his service. And oh, by the way, in case you didn't hear this, he was supposed to retire on Wednesday.
Yeah. Right.
Oh, my goodness.
Right.
And I was talking to his father-in-law, who's a very good friend of mine. And honestly, his father-in-law is a town employee here, and he said that his son-in-law was speaking to his father the week prior, and his dad said, son, you've got a week left. Don't get hurt. And he said, Dad, I only know how to do this job one way.
Wow.
And, but we are just thankful that he's on the road to recovery, and we thank him for his service. Yeah. And I think it's just another reminder of the dangers that anyone who puts a uniform on faces. And you think it might be, sometimes it's not a picnic, put it that way. And they face a lot of dangers out there. And like I said, A lot of Yonkers police officers call Yorktown home.
Yeah.
A lot of them do. And so for all of our men and women in uniform, we say thank you. We say thank you, and we recognize the risks and the danger you face every day.
And I don't think there's been enough publicity about the fact that Yorktown was chosen the 9th safest
Yes, it was.
town in the
And
country.
It's actually the last 2 years we've been ranked top 10.
In the country, yeah.
Last 2 years we've been
Yeah.
ranked top 10. So going back to our police department again, absolute best. But I just wanted to...
Registry.
The registry, yeah. I just wanted to expand on the registry. So Chief Noble, I just wanted to take a moment and mention the Yonkers police officer. But Chief Noble, man, is he good, huh? Whew. He is such a pleasure to work with. He is a true leader.
Nice person.
Great guy,
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
Right? I just hope he doesn't hear all this and ask for
Oh,
another
okay.
raise. But one of the things that he put forward as part of Autism Awareness Month was this First Responders Registry. And the thought process behind it is that our residents, and he uses the term help us help you, our residents voluntarily provide information about a loved one or themselves. It's actually grown to include themselves. And so they provide that voluntary information so that if there is ever a need to respond to an individual's home, the police have the information. They know what they're walking into. They'll know if someone is autistic. They'll know if someone has Down syndrome. They know if someone is hard of hearing. Hard of hearing.
Living alone.
Living alone, yes. That, they'll take any information you're willing to give them because that just makes their job that much easier. And our police department goes through a ton of training. And we've learned this because when we had to do the Executive Order 203 police review that was mandated by the state of New York, we saw firsthand how much training they get.
Yeah.
And so they get trained constantly on how to deal with unique situations and situations dealing with people with special needs. But it's just so much more advantageous from their standpoint if they know walking in they're dealing with someone who has a disability, who has special needs, who again who is autistic and on the spectrum. And those are not degrading pieces of information. Those are helpful pieces of information that just makes the experience with the police department that much better. And it's going to foster another bridge of trust within our community.
Confidential, right? Confidential.
It remains confidential, absolutely. No one's going to know about it. I'm not even going to know about it. The board's not going to know about it. The only reason it would be relayed to an officer, they put it in their CAD system so that if they're responding to one Main Street, the dispatcher will see that there's a notation on the one Main Street file, and they will have the officer call in, and they will provide that officer, and only that officer, with whatever that information that was voluntarily shared with the agency. So we've had a few dozen people sign up already. Diabetes is another one. If you're diabetic, if you're comfortable, let them know. Because we've had instances about, with some diabetic residents who they weren't acting themselves. But it's important for the police to know that because then they have a better understanding of the situation they're dealing with. So
Also, if you need oxygen or things like that.
yeah. Any medical necessity. The other thing that we have, I just want to remind everyone also, if you are online, we also have the registry for us to share with the utilities for our vulnerable neighbors. So if you are on oxygen, if you do have someone at home, who relies on, any type of medical device that requires electricity, we'll take that information and then we make sure that the utility companies know about it and it adds them to a higher priority list. So that's something else that you can do right online, yorktownny.org.
Well, if you recall, when we were given the assignment, I was on that committee for the Executive Order 203.
Yes, you were.
And someone complained that we were too brief. But the fact of the matter is that Yorktown met every criteria that the governor's order asked about. So there was no need to go into any detail because we were already there with every single order. So,
well, to your point, Rosemary, not only were we already there, we exceeded it.
Yes, yeah.
And after EO 203 was concluded, the department once again received an accreditation by the state of New York as one of the top police agencies in the entire state, which really frustrated the board at the time because we said, well, we keep getting the Yorktown Police Department's been accredited since 1991. We have a long history in having the highest standards in law enforcement in the entire state. I think actually we may be either the second or third longest standing accredited law enforcement agency in the entire state of New York. And we continue to maintain that. I actually met with the gentleman who had to run the audit on the police department as a supervisor. And when I met with him, he said to me very clearly, this was one of the easiest ones I had to do.
Yeah.
And it's because they do such a good job. And they're always holding themselves to such a high standard.
Yeah.
It's not something that I ever worry about, to say the least. So, other questions I might be able to answer?
How do we sign up for this registry?
So, you can go, again, it's right online. You can go to yorktownny.org. First Responder Registry is, again, on the How Do I tab. Or you can visit the yorktownpd.com website, the Yorktown Police Department's website.
.org or .com?
I think it's .com. And it's right on their homepage. So there's two avenues to do it. Or you can call the clerk's office, and we can get you in touch with the police department. You can call my office. We'll get you in touch with the police department. Or you can call the police department, and their non-emergency line is 962-4141. And every single person here should know that non-emergency line, right?
Right.
And make sure it's programmed in your phone.
In your phone, right.
Yes. Other questions I might be able to answer?
Matt, can you just briefly touch on the time frame and about what Yorktown is doing with the honor flight on May 7th?
Yes. Honor flight, one of my favorite things. Honor flight is doing Honor Flight Mission 2000, May 20th, and May 21st. May 21st. I've actually made sure my calendar is free on the 20th too, just to make sure I rest. May 21st is Honor Flight Mission 2000. The reason why it's called Mission 2000, it's their 2000th veteran that they're going to have on the flight. So they take World War II, Korean War, Cold War, and Vietnam War veterans, and they bring them down on a trip of a lifetime to Washington, D.C., all first class. We get a chartered flight, this time flying out of Westchester Airport. You get a hero's welcome down in Washington, coach bus tour through the entire city for the day, and then flown back home that night to a hero's welcome home. And it's a great event. A long day, but worth every second of it. I think Councilman Lachterman, you're going this time around.
Actually, I need her number to
Gotcha.
call. Send me that afterwards.
I've been assigned as a bus leader. I have no idea what it means, but I'm very excited.
Tony's already gone in it.
Tony's already gone. I know we've had a few people here who've already gone. So, but if you know anybody who would like to get on the list, please let us know. You can, again, call the clerk's office or my office, or you talk to Councilman Lachterman, and we'll get you right in touch with them. We do have on May 7th is the pre-flight check-in.
Yes.
The pre-flight check-in is going to be at the Capellini Center. Yorktown strategically is in the best location for this trip, according to the Hudson Valley Honor Flight organizers. And so we've opened our doors in many, many ways. All their counselor training, guardian training, is being taken place here in Yorktown. And then, of course, the exciting pre-flight check-in where all the veterans come in and they get a breakfast. They get to meet some of the people that they're going away with. That's going to be happening May 7th over at the Capellini Center. We are trying to get a little bit of a contingency out in front of the Capellini Center, holding up, signs and cheering on our veterans because they deserve it.
What time are they coming in? Do we
I have to
know
get
that?
the final.
10 to 11, I believe, is for A to F. From G to Z will be after that. I think
Gotcha.
It's a 2-hour.
So I think it's like 10 to
10 to
12.
10 to 12 and 12 to 2.
Yeah.
But I don't think they're doing breakfast this year here.
No, they're not doing
They-
breakfast.
okay.
They're just doing the check-in, but we could still
I think we should still have a nice crowd
Absolutely.
cheering on our veterans. They deserve it.
absolutely.
Wonderful.
So, but yeah, so that's the latest on the honor flight. It's I'm looking forward to it. It's again fantastic. Other questions you might have for me while I'm here? Yes, ma'am.
Any updates on the Kmart building or the Catallo building? And
Sure. So let's see. Let's start with Catallo. That actually has been purchased. You're talking about the one where China Star is in town off of Commerce Street?
no, the one on the Four Corners there. Where,
Oh, you're talking Roma.
The Roma building.
So no new news on Roma at this point in time. We do know that we've reached out to them in the past, in the last 18 months. They had no appetite to come back with the project they originally proposed. So we're hopeful that someone may be interested in purchasing that property, but I think everyone recognizes the need. And if you were we had a presentation by our planning department, John Tegeter, And he pointed out that their windows don't even line up on the two sides of the building. And now I can't drive past it without my OCD kicking in. So. Yeah, I understand that. So we are hopeful that there is someone who's going to purchase the property. It's private property at this point in time. Our building department's taking a very close eye, keeping a close eye on it to make sure that even if it's not up to our standards, that it's up to the state building code standards. And so, in case it ever gets to the point where there may be a violation, like for instance, the Sioux and High awning had torn down in a storm, and it sat there for a couple of days, and the building department, I instructed the building department to go over and make sure they knew that they're violating the law. And so once they got in touch with them, they did clean it up that day. So we are keeping a very close eye on it. I think they know that we're keeping a very close eye on them because we're so disappointed in its current state and recognize the potential. As for the Kmart building, we are soon to be engaged in a pretty, I think, heated discussion, we'll call it, with Transformco. Transformco is the company that bought out Kmart. Transformco is still holding on to the lease for that building. It's a multi-year lease. I've spoken with them. They are based out of Chicago. If they fell into Yorktown, they wouldn't even know they were here. They have no idea where we are. They have no idea what our community is about. They don't know anything about us. The town board is going to be taking some action, though, on that property to get more aggressive with Transformco. It's literally holding up a transformative project that would be amazing for this community. And you know that we've talked with the Chamber of Commerce. Chamber of Commerce has labeled it as an anti-business blight because it is. And you want to talk about chronic eyesores and chronic vacancies. We don't have an appetite for that, and we're not going to sit idly by and let big corporations dictate to us what's going to happen in our community. So we've been very vocal. We've been having the conversations that are needed, but I think it's going to be time pretty quickly, pretty soon, to take it to another level.
Plus the survival. I mean, we were in retail for 40 years. The survival of the businesses that are there really depends on what happens to that building, because we've spoken to many of them, and they're really holding on.
I just find it so disrespectful.
Yeah.
That's the bottom line. I'm tired of seeing our community be taken advantage of by people who they couldn't find Yorktown on a map if they tried. And that's what's happening. So Uncle Giuseppe's, we're working with them. They have to make a business decision if they're going to keep the lease or if they're going to unload it. So we are having conversations with them to understand their plan. Because you have to remember, it's their property. It's their lease. So they need to make a business decision on their end. We're just trying to be as supportive and helpful as we can to try to think of, other things or other entities that could possibly go into that space.
My question regarding the Roma building, the back of the Roma building. I've been going there forever. The parking lot, beautiful. And they put that they put that nice black fence up all around. And so people are under the impression that, the Roma building's not going to come down because they put X amount of money back there. I don't know if you've been there.
Well, we actually forced them to pave their parking
beautiful.
lots.
It looks beautiful. It never looked like that.
Then that's how we knew they weren't coming back with their project, because we said, listen, if you're going to come back with your project, okay, we'll give you some time. But if you're not coming back with your project, you've got a week. And they said, well, we're not coming back with our project. And we said, well, go get the roller and go get some asphalt, because this is not going to stand.
Yeah.
And Councilman Diana was very instrumental in getting that done, as was our building department and our town attorney. So, when we talk about holding property owners accountable, that's what we're talking about. We'll work with anybody, but don't think you're going to take advantage of this community. At least not while I'm here. I'm not putting up with it. So
then you better stay here.
No, don't worry. There'll be others to take up the mantle that are not going to accept it.
You go away.
You want me to go away, Maria? Thanks.
Yes.
Okay.
Nice, Maria. Be
Wow,
nice.
Maria.
Other questions? Joe, you had something?
No, I was just asking, they're paying their taxes though, right? These corporations
Yes.
do pay their taxes, so that's my question.
Yeah, no, they all pay their taxes, even if it's vacant. If the Roma building is vacant tomorrow, they're still required to pay their taxes. So, there is other examples though. Like the Oster property where Kmart is, right? That property owner has filed for tax grievances, which reduces their taxes. That's a very hard process to win from our standpoint. And it's frustrating because they want to say that their property values decrease. Well, your property value decreased because you haven't done anything.
That's right.
How's that my problem?
That's right.
But that's my position. But they do pay their taxes though, and the Roma building does pay their taxes. So and there is that misunderstanding out there because if you talk with the property owners, like I meet with the Triangle Center every 2 months, right? They know they have to pay their taxes. With every vacancy, if everyone left the Triangle Center, the landlord is still paying their taxes. So it's in their best interest to fill everything. So, I think that's something that people get confused about or maybe misunderstand. No matter what happens, they're paying their the landlord has to pay their taxes. And so it's in their best interest to fill it. It's in our best interest to have it be filled because it generates commerce, it generates jobs, it generates activities. So, it's a win-win for everybody. But, again, I have a very short
acceptance of it.
Yeah, I was going to say temper with it, but I think acceptance is better when it comes to some of these folks taking advantage of our
So
community.
all of those trailers that are parked there.
That's all for Uncle Giuseppe's and the renovation that's happening inside.
Okay.
Every single one of them.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
All right.
Yeah. And that was delayed because of the supply chain. They would have been done sooner, but they had significant delays that were supply chain related. They couldn't get things.
Especially
for
on
months.
refrigeration.
Yeah.
I know that
You
one.
would know that, yeah.
Sarah?
Sarah?
Yes, the article was in the Yorktown News this week, about the hotel going in. Now, who bought the hotel?
So no one bought the hotel. It's been the same property owner
Okay.
for I don't even know how long he's had the property. But it's something that the property owner. Again, you talk about private property owners and the rights of private property owners. You have a private property owner who has a right to invest and come forward with a proposed project.
But what I'm concerned about, in the article, it said about the floors. He was installing building and the 4 floors and the tapis bar on the top.
Those are all proposals. Nothing's been approved.
But nothing was said about parking.
The town board brought up parking at the meeting.
Okay.
That was one of our main questions. Was did you figure out your parking proposal? But also understand that is part of the site plan approval. So the planning board, which specializes in parking, is going to have to assess and it has to approve the project based on whatever parking configuration they've come up with. It's something that we've asked several times because they are limited in the parking because of the size of the property. But at the same time, I do think that it's an exciting proposal that the town's talked about for quite some time. And I also like the fact that it's not one of these 60, 80, 100-room Holiday Inns that will never get filled, right? It's 16 rooms. It's a boutique hotel. It's
With a limit.
Right. So, when people are coming to town for birthdays or weddings or, graduations or whatever, that's going to easily be filled, and you're going to have that opportunity right here in the town. And not to mention, it also provides, a potential amenity with that additional dining, which, people talk about. I hear often. I think the town board hears often. So does our Chamber of Commerce, that people would like to see some new and different dining, have new and different dining experiences, and it is providing one if it is approved. But there's still what was discussed was the fact that there needs to be standards that need to be created for the project itself, since it's in the overlay district, and that's what the town board is going to deliberate on.
And the parking is an important aspect because they will venture to use other people's parking.
Yes,
if
and
they
that's
don't
something
get
that the
their-
planning
right.
board, if it makes it to that stage, the planning board would have to look at.
The information in the newspaper said it was 16 rooms. So
Yep.
figure out 16 rooms times 2 cars, that's 32. And if they put that big building, that hotel there, which is going to take 3/4 of the property, I have no idea where they're going to.
Yeah, according to the engineer, when we asked that question, based on the requirement of the parking and the parking they have, they're short just one spot.
Right.
So that was
Also in a
watch
ho-
the presentation. That's what they're saying.
Also in a hotel, it's usually one car.
One
It's
car,
not like an
yeah.
apartment, so
Yeah.
you would only have one car.
Right.
And I know I had heard complaints with people saying, well, some of the restaurants in town don't do enough business. Why would you put another restaurant? And as a restaurateur in my past career, competition is always good because it keeps your standards up. But
Yeah.
here's a problem: without anything new and exciting around town, what do people do? They go to Mount Kisco,
Outside of
they
town.
go up to Carmel, they go up to Mayapack, and they leave and go to other. So they take the money out of our community, and that is a little bit of an issue, to say the least.
You have a hand in the back, I think.
Which parcel is that? Is that the old Century 21 building?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, I worked there, but they had plenty of parking for us as agents, and we were probably near 15 to 20 agents.
Yeah, yeah,
parked
that's
at one time.
that's exactly the part. That's exactly the property.
And I agree with you, because when I dine, I end up going out of the area. I don't want to. I want to spend my dollars here, but there's not much available.
Yeah.
I just went out with a couple who own 2 restaurants in the town of Yorktown, and we ended up going up to Mayapack. So,
That's because they didn't want to go to their own restaurant.
well, that's true, and I was
Those are
at
the two
their
restaurants that you wanna go
restaurant
to.
the week before, but they wanted to try something new.
Yeah.
And check out the competition.
But I just want to make sure that we're emphasizing the fact that it hasn't been approved. But I also think it's a good thing to see new ideas, and that was one of the things that we discussed. And one of the motivations behind the overlay district was we hadn't seen a zoning update since the 70s. And so when people drive around town, they call and they say, "Hey, it looks like it's the 70s." Well, it's because the zoning code is from the 70s. I mean, it's not hard to figure out. So we upgraded that in hopes of generating reinvestment in these properties. And I don't think that it should be necessarily, and I'm not saying you are, but I don't think that we should criticize the fact that we're seeing some of that product. I think it actually shows that it's working. And so it's going to go through a full vetting process. It has not been approved by the town board. The standards haven't been approved. There has to be a whole process, a legislative process with public hearings, just to set the standards, not even mentioning the project itself. So still a ways to go.
About the same time the sewers go through, right?
3 years.
So, Supervisor, since you mentioned the Catalo building before, or someone mentioned Catalo, not realizing, I will say even there is a new owner, as the supervisor put in, and I ran into him this morning when I was having breakfast over at Edwin's, and he has some...
You didn't invite me. I saw you walking in.
Well, why didn't you come by?
I didn't get an invite.
Talk to Paul Martin. You're not
He's
from Somers.
And they're both shy.
But he was talking about some amazing changes to that property that he wants to bring to the planning board. So
and they're coming fast.
Yeah. So
we're going to see a big increase there.
Yeah, it would be great to see that building
raising the standards there too.
Up looking like the 70s as well.
Exactly. And I just want to mention one more thing, and I'm sorry if I didn't mention this earlier. The other thing I really want everyone to think about is the stage. The Yorktown stage is sold out this weekend.
Good.
I want you to know that. I got to go this morning. My son had his first field trip. He's in the first grade, so he's entered elementary school during COVID. So they haven't had a field trip since he's been there. And so they brought the kindergarten and first grade of Brookside over to the Yorktown stage this morning because they did their dress rehearsal for Seussical the Musical. They sold 150 tickets yesterday alone. And they have it booked almost every weekend with something to see and something to do. Honestly, when people, and I was one of them growing up, there's nothing to do. We need to find things to do. What's there to do? Look at the stage. They have so much programming coming. They've got high quality performances scheduled for the fall and the winter. So please put that on your radar. It is really, I was there a couple times over the holidays last fall. We get Broadway level talent coming to the Yorktown stage. And let's not forget that there is no more dinner theater, as much as I love the dinner theater. I love theater. My wife loves theater. But all those actors and actresses are coming here.
Right. Wonderful.
Keep that in mind.
And if there anyone here like big band music, because the Norm Hathaway Big Band is going to be doing a fundraiser for the Ukraine at the Yorktown stage coming up.
Wow. At the stage. So and they have stand-up comedians coming in. So it's not just the plays. They're doing concerts. They're doing comedians. They're doing, the plays and musicals. Some of them are for kids. Some of them are for adults. But if you're looking for something to do, you should have it on your little list, when you're going through for the weekend, what's going on in Yorktown. Check out that stage because they've done a great job. And we're actually looking to enhance it in a couple of ways. One of which we got a grant by Senator Harcum to
replace all
upgrade the seats. All the seats are going to get upgraded probably in the next, hopefully 6 months to a year. And our comptroller's working very, very hard on that. And we have another project. I don't want to get out on it too soon, but we have another project coming that's going to provide even more things to do at the Yorktown stage that our Arts and Culture Committee's been working on. So, I just wanted to put that on everyone's radar, and everyone here and everyone watching. Really important, I think, and a great opportunity to do something fun, and right here in the town. So,
Matt, I also read not too long ago that the Jefferson Valley Mall has quite a few different programs going on for children and adults, and I was shocked. I didn't know that.
Yeah,
and
the Valley.
We really don't know about that.
Yeah,
and there's
they've
a lot
really,
of programs going on there.
They've really reinvented themselves as a community center. So much to do there too. I mean, again, you just need to. Honestly, I think we're almost spoiled because there's so much to do. You don't even know it. And look at the mall, look at the theater. And again, if you go on and you sign up for our emails, I mean, I can tell you that my Saturday tomorrow, I'm going to be exhausted. There's so much to do tomorrow here in the town of Yorktown. But the most important, of course, is Charlie's soccer game at 8:30. So.
Absolutely.
And Joe Sorrentino's game.
And of course, we're going to there he is. We're going to the Sorrentino Cup, right?
Right.
We're looking forward to that. It's also YAC opening day at APAR Field.
Battle of Yorktown.
Battle of Yorktown. You're going to see people all over town Lions. Cleaning up. I'm going to be with the Leos, Veterans Road.
Well, the Lions. Make sure Kelly's with the Lions.
No, she's going to be with the Leos too. So, but like I said, so much to do. It's and this is why this community is so great. People really care about it. They put their heart and soul into it. We may not agree on everything, and that's fine. I don't mind that. And I think by discussing it, we come up with some good ideas and some creative ideas, but so much to do. And that's why it's a great place to call home. So really thrilled to be here, and I don't want to take any much more. We can do this all day. I can do this all day.
I know. Thank you for the wonderful job you do.
Thank you, everybody.
I just want to let everybody know that we did make a mistake. Our next meeting will actually be held on May 20th, Friday, May 20th. So yes, that was our goof.
Yeah, we have 20. I have the 21st.
Right.
It's the 20th.
Okay. Thank you all for coming. We appreciate it very much. If you have any questions or any,
Tell them the suggestion box is in the.
there's a suggestion box in the hall. We will read it and see if there's any particular problem that you feel seniors are facing or a particular person. It will be confidential. Just let us know. Put your suggestion in the box.
We have flyers to salute for seniors if anybody's interested in going to that.
Yes.
Salute to seniors. It's
Was that the other
free
kind?
admission 10 to 12. The event is to salute seniors. They have different.
Is that at the county
areas.
center?
Depends on where you want to go.
Oh.
Okay.
Pardon? Croton Park.
Oh, they have different places this year. That's good.
And outside in the lobby, there are cards if you know any veterans. We do have the veteran flags that we have in town with the Sons of the American Legion. So they are out in the lobby if you're interested.
Thank you all for coming. We appreciate seeing you. Thank you.